My bank account was screaming before I even saw the bill. $300 for avocado toast and bottomless mimosas? What kind of dystopian brunch hell was this? I'm Jake, a 28-year-old graphic designer with a modest apartment, a beat-up Honda, and a girlfriend, Clara, whose family could probably buy my entire neighborhood. We'd been dating for 2 years, and while I knew her family was loaded, I didn't expect to be blindsided at what was supposed to be a casual Sunday brunch. Clara had pitched it as a chance to bond with her parents and siblings, a way to show them I was serious about her. I was nervous, but hopeful maybe they'd see I wasn't just some broke artist leeching off their princess. The restaurant, La Belle Époque, was the kind of place where the napkins probably cost more than my rent. Crystal chandeliers glittered overhead, and waiters in crisp white shirts glided like they were auditioning for a royal court. Clara's family arrived in a parade of designer labels. Her mother, Victoria, in a Chanel suit that screamed old money. Her father, Richard, sporting a Rolex that could have funded my college loans. And her older brother, Ethan, who looked like he'd stepped out of a yacht catalog. They greeted me with polite smiles, but their eyes sized me up like I was a discount rack at a thrift store. Clara, radiant in a silk dress that hugged her curves, squeezed my hand under the table. "Relax," she whispered, her green eyes sparkling. "They'll love you." I wanted to believe her, but the knot in my stomach told me this brunch was about to cost me more than just my pride. The menu had no prices, which should have been my first red flag. Clara's family didn't even glance at it. They just started ordering. "We'll have the truffle omelets for the table," Victoria said, waving her manicured hand. "And the lobster Benedict. Oh, and let's do the caviar service," Ethan chimed in. "Add the Wagyu sliders. And a bottle of Dom Perignon, actually. Make it two." Richard nodded, barely looking up from his phone, where he was probably buying a small island. Clara beamed, clearly in her element, while I sat there calculating how many freelance gigs I'd need to afford a single bite. By the time the food arrived, the table was a fortress of excess towers of pastries, glistening seafood, and champagne flutes bubbling over. Clara's family dug in, laughing and swapping stories about their latest ski trip to Aspen. I tried to keep up, forcing a smile as I nibbled on a $50 croissant, but I felt like an outsider in their glittering world. Clara kept shooting me reassuring glances, but they did little to ease the growing pit in my gut. Then came the moment that changed everything. As the waiter cleared the plates, Clara leaned over, her voice low and casual. "Oh, Jake, I forgot to mention you're covering this one, right?" I froze, my fork clattering against the plate. What I whispered, hoping I'd misheard. Her family was still chatting, oblivious, but Clara's smile didn't waver. "Yeah, I mean, you wanted to impress them, didn't you? It's just brunch." Her tone was light, but her eyes had a sharp edge, like she was daring me to argue. "Clara, I can't afford this," I hissed, glancing at the table, where the remnants of a $2,000 meal mocked me. "You said this was your treat." She shrugged, sipping her mimosa. "I thought you'd step up. It's not a big deal. Jake, just put it on your card." My face burned. Not a big deal. I had $1, $200 in my checking account, and most of that was earmarked for rent. I looked at her family, still laughing over some private joke, and realized they hadn't even considered the bill. Why would they? They probably thought I was some chump who'd beg for the chance to grovel at their table. "Clara, you can't be serious," I said, my voice louder now. A few heads turned. Victoria raised an eyebrow, and Ethan smirked, like he was enjoying the show. "Jake, don't make a scene," Clara said, her smile tightening. "It's just money." Just money. Those two words hit me like a punch. To her, it was pocket change. To me, it was months of scraping by. I stood up, my chair scraping against the polished floor. "I'm not paying for this," I said loud enough for the whole table to hear. "You invited me, you ordered, you figure it out." The table fell silent. Richard finally looked up from his phone, his expression unreadable. Victoria's lips pursed, like she'd tasted something sour. Ethan leaned back, crossing his arms with a grin that said he'd been waiting for me to crash and burn. Clara's face flushed, but not with embarrassment, with anger. "You're humiliating me," she snapped. "Humiliating you," I shot back. "You just dropped a bill on me that's more than my car's worth." The waiter hovered awkwardly, holding the leather-bound check like it was a live grenade. I could feel every eye in the restaurant on us, the murmurs of other diners like static in the air. I didn't care. I was done playing the part of the grateful boyfriend. "Jake, sit down," Clara said, her voice low and venomous. "You're making this worse." "No," I said, my heart pounding. "I'm done. You want to play princess with your family, fine, but don't drag me into it." I grabbed my jacket and walked out, leaving the check on the table and Clara's stunned family in my wake. Outside, and the city air hit me like a slap. I walked for blocks, my mind racing. How had I missed this side of Clara? We'd had our differences. She loved her lavish lifestyle, and I was more of a thrift store and takeout guy. But I thought we balanced each other. I thought she respected me. Clearly, I was wrong. My phone buzzed with text from Clara. "You're so selfish. How could you do this to me?" I didn't reply. I kept walking, replaying every moment of our relationship. The little comments she'd made about my cute apartment, the way she'd roll her eyes when I suggested a dive bar over a rooftop lounge. I'd brushed it off and thinking it was just her upbringing. But this was betrayal. By the time I got home, my anger had morphed into something heavier: grief. I loved Clara, or at least I thought I did. But love doesn't blindside you with a bill you can't pay. Love doesn't make you feel small to prop someone else up. The next day, Clara called. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was a mix of apologies and defensiveness. "I didn't mean to upset you, Jake. I just thought you'd want to show my family you're serious about us. They're particular about who I date. Can we talk?" I didn't call back. Instead, I started thinking about what I wanted, not just from her, but from life. I'd spent so much time trying to fit into her world. I'd forgotten what mine looked like. I loved my work, my scrappy little life, my friends who didn't care if I wore last season's jeans. Clara's family might have money, but I had something they didn't: self-respect. A week later, I ran into Ethan at a coffee shop. I braced for a confrontation, but he just smirked and said, "You dodged a bullet. Man, Clara's always been like that. Good luck." It wasn't an apology, but it was enough to confirm what I already knew: Clara's world wasn't mine, and it never would be. I started rebuilding. I took on new clients, saved up for a better apartment, and even went on a few dates. None of them were Clara, but that was the point. I wasn't looking for her anymore. I was looking for someone who saw me, not just what I could pay for. Looking back, that brunch was a wake-up call. It wasn't just about the money, it was about respect, boundaries, and knowing your worth. Clara's family might always splurge, but I wasn't their ATM, and I wasn't going to let anyone, not even someone I loved, make me feel less than. So, what do you think? Was I right to walk away? Or should I have swallowed my pride and paid the bill? Is it fair to expect a partner to fit into a world that's not their own? Share your thoughts. Let's talk about where justice lies in a story like this.